All right, we are going live, and this time it might be a little ill-advised again because I'm just popping in out of the blue, haven't contacted the moderators, so the Trumplefucks we've got to be careful of. Don't interact with them, don't talk to them because they're just trying to find a platform that they can hijack, and they're not going to hijack this fucking thing. I'll get out of here and start over again before I let them do that. Now, I've got a guest coming on, and I've never done this before because I usually record this for the Rational Boomer podcast. Bluffton, South Carolina. Love that town. Thank you. Been there many times. But his name is Richard Greene. He is a doctor, I believe, and he's going to come on the show here, and I think he has some interesting things to say. So we'll give this a try and see how this works. I'm just waiting to see if he shows up. I need to get some kind of sign that he's here. A lot of folks, Greenville, South Carolina, do your job down there in South Carolina. Let's get Kamala elected. And see, let's go canvassing now in Charlotte. I follow you always. You're a good man. Thank you. Richard Greene. I see you there. I see Richard Greene is here. I'm just going to check something here. All right. I'm not... What the cult men are going to do, they're going to shit themselves is exactly what they're going to do. I don't know how to invite Richard Greene to be on this. This is weird. I should be able to do this, but I don't normally do this. Wow. Having trouble here. We're doing a live. I'm not recording this for the podcast this time. We've got a lot of people. Long Beach, New York is here. What are the odds you think Kamala will win? I think 100%. I think she's going to win. It's not a matter of whether she's going to win. It's by how much. And I happen to think that she's going to be, hold on a second here. Okay, there. I figured it out, Richard. All right. Now I got Richard Greene. He's also well known on TikTok. Richard, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Rational Boomer. Can you see me, or you just have my icon? I don't know how that works. We're making progress. We're getting there. Two boomers who are trying to save democracy. I love it.
Absolutely. Richard Greene is on TikTok, and he's more an official fella. Are you Dr. Richard Greene?
No, I'm actually a lawyer, but
same difference.
But I teach civics. I teach public speaking. That's my day job. But I teach civics to influencers and to regular people, so people know how to vote in their own best interests. And all I care about is democracy. All I care about is that people feel empowered, that they have their voice to be heard and make a difference and help create the kind of country that they want. And I am confident, even though I am a Democrat, I am confident that if more people vote, and there'll be 80 to 100 million people who do not vote, that if more people vote, we're going to actually be able to solve a lot of the problems. Women are going to get their reproductive rights back. We're going to be able to fight climate change. We're going to have more gun safety. We're going to fix our immigration crisis. We're going to have lower insulin costs, lower grocery costs, lower gas prices, more renewable energy, all of that. All of those things happen if people vote. And so, I'm called Richard Greene, the Civics Dean, as a kind of a shout out to my dear friend Bill Nye, the science guy, because I just really, really, really want people to understand how our government works.
Well, I'm Rational Boomer, the dipshit old man that sits in his living room and rants at his phone. So, not quite as credible as what you've got going here. You know, I've got a lot of people coming in here, and this comes from Delicia Pride. She says, "How do you shore up democracy from future inside attack by the next generation of MAGA?" Okay, I can see it now, Richard. I think the thing about it is MAGA may go the way of the Tea Party. They were like a infectious wound for a while, and then they finally faded away when they didn't have any kind of power after Kamala wins, and presuming the Democrats win in the Congress. They're going to slowly fade away. They'll still be there bubbling under, but I don't think they're going to be an ongoing problem. What do you think, Richard?
So this is super important. And I'm doing a lot of content in the next 48, 72 hours, even after the election, because we're going to have all these, I think, constitutional issues. But I think that's a great question. The question of tomorrow is whether the United States of America will literally, and I'm not BSing you, will literally continue as a democracy or a republic, if that's what you want to call it. It's both. Or it will be, as General Mark Milley said, as General John Kelly said, it will be run by someone who is fascist or fascist to the core. So can I explain how we lose our democracy? Not on day one, on 15 seconds one. The first.
Can I say
15,
one? Let me say one thing beforehand, because people are terrified, and you're saying how we lose our democracy if Donald Trump wins. Now let
only
me just
if
let
Donald
people
Trump
know.
wins. Thank you.
But let me know, Donald Trump is not going to win. So this is all a hypothetical. But go ahead.
Right. So I love your optimism. I think you're probably right. I was really excited about the Iowa poll. I'm excited about the exit polling that's happening in some of the swing states. But do you know how many actual votes we avoided having Donald Trump win the 2020 election by?
I know it was not a lot. I know it was few, but we're dealing with a different world here now. But go ahead, tell us.
Well, again, shifting loyalties politically, right? We've picked up some demographics, we've lost others. We've lost a lot of men, especially of color, for example. But we won that election because the stupid, insane, anti-democratic, racist electoral college. Joe Biden became president because of 42,880 votes in 3 swing states. So if it's anywhere near that close going into tomorrow, we're going to need every single person, maybe even people, and especially even people who weren't going to vote, to go, oh my goodness, I heard Richard Greene on with Rational Boomer. I got to crawl on glass. I got to wait in line. I'm going to do that because the threat, even if it's a 10% threat, the threat of what Donald Trump could do if he gets in office, not on day one, but on 15 seconds one, is unbelievable. Do you know what he can do in the first 15 seconds that will change America forever?
Go ahead. Let me know. I got
Yeah.
people terrified
So,
here, but because I'm gonna have to fix them after you get done. But go ahead.
but again, it's so fixable. It's just called voting. It's just called voting. But so Joy Reid on MSNBC has a great quote. It says, scaring is caring. So I'm going to scare the shit out of you because I care and because we still have hours to make sure this doesn't happen. Ready?
Okay.
Okay. So there is one person in the United States who is in charge of the entire judicial system and the justice system. One person in charge of the entire Department of Justice. Do you know who that is?
Attorney General.
The Attorney General, the chief law enforcement officer of the United States of America. So if Donald Trump wants to go after Rational Boomer or Richard Greene, the Civics Dean, or Jimmy Kimmel or Stephen Colbert or Jon Stewart or Hillary Clinton or anybody, guess who would be the person that would do that?
Attorney General.
The
Or
Attorney
by way
General.
of Donald Trump.
By way of Donald Trump, because the standard that has always been kept until Donald Trump is that the Attorney General was an independent member of the cabinet, did not respond to the desires of the president, right? And Joe Biden, with Merrick Garland, who I think has been a terrible Attorney General, he didn't interfere. I think that that is what history will say, is that Merrick Garland was an independent Attorney General.
Now,
So
let me just make these people feel a little bit better. You're comparing 2020 to what we're seeing now in 2024. And it's my contention we're in an entirely different parallel universe. Now, in 2020, people were scared and didn't like Donald Trump. And that's largely why Joe Biden won. There was no real enthusiasm behind Joe Biden as compared to what we have with Kamala Harris today. The terror and the hate for Donald Trump is why that many people turned out. Now, people will always say it's going to be close because Donald Trump got 74 million votes, Joe Biden got 81 million votes. But at that point, we weren't quite as exposed to a lot of things. Roe v. Wade had not been overturned. And a lot of people who voted for Donald Trump weren't necessarily fans of Donald Trump. They were Republican. Dad voted Republican. Mom voted Republican. Grandpa, great-grandpa, great-great-grandpa voted for Republican. And they couldn't do anything but vote Republican. Now, this has been terribly different for Donald Trump between 20 and 24 because he's been convicted of crimes, found liable of sexual assault, overturned Roe v. Wade, and all the ridiculous messiness. We know now that there are Republicans pulling away from Donald. They're not just standing by him because he has an R next to his name. So a lot of those people, Republicans and independents that would have just voted that way because that's what they always do, they're changing their mind. I don't think it's going to be that close because a Republican can't win an election, first of all, unless he has a unified party. He doesn't have a unified party. In fact, it's fractured. There's a few different ways it could go for them. They don't vote, they vote for Trump, or they vote for Kamala. That's why I don't think it's going to be the same as 2020. That was scary, I'll grant you that. But we're in a different world now, and there's bigger things that people have to worry about, and they're more scared and they're more hating of Donald Trump.
So I'm in a funny spot, Mike, and you
Okay.
tell me which direction we go. Okay. I do believe that Kamala is going to win. I just want people to understand how important it is for them to vote if they were thinking of not voting, and important for them to contact their friends and relatives and kids who are especially in the swing states. Also, I want abortion, reproductive rights, and gun safety, and so many other things are on every single one of your viewers, your followers' ballots. And I want them to understand that because let's say, thank you, God, that Kamala wins, right? So we've saved our democracy, but unless we pick up 4 more House members that are elected tomorrow to the House of Representatives that are Democrats, we will not be able to pass the bill that will codify Roe v. Wade and restore reproductive rights for all Americans across the country. Unless we also, so that means if you have a congressman representing you who is up for re-election, and guess how many of you have that?
Yeah, a lot.
No, everybody.
Oh, that's right.
All
Yeah, you're
four-
right. Everybody.
this is my civic stuff. It's all 435 members of the House of Representatives are up, right? Right now, the Democrats have 214 seats. How many do you need to be able to elect Hakeem Jeffries as Speaker of the House and control the agenda and the bills that are brought up in the House of Representatives?
What is
218.
it? 218.
218.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So we are 4 away. We're 4 away. So that means you who love Rational Boomer and you love his content, and I'm seeing a lot of people, who love you, and I'm one of them. It's like, wow, it's like, who is this guy? Right? Who is this guy?
My family says the same thing. Who is this fucking clown?
And it said, and I love how you use the F-bomb. It's very cathartic. I love, you got these giant hats with the thing, and you look like a redneck. And then it's like, first time it's like, I almost scrolled past and I listened to you and I go, this dude is really freaking smart. And then every time for the last year or whatever that I've been following, I've been on TikTok for about a year and a half. And I go, he deserves the hundreds of thousands of followers that he has. No, you're awesome, man. Because you're so, when I teach public speaking, the number one most important thing that I tell my presidents, prime ministers, CEOs, celebrity clients, and I've been doing this a long time, the number one thing is you have it in spades. What do you think it is?
What I think it is the same thing when I've taught people to record something if you can somehow, most people who step on stage that I know of or step in front of a microphone are insecure. So they try to do their best imitation of what they perceive somebody doing that is. If you can just get rid of that and be yourself, that's where you'll win.
It is authenticity.
Yeah. And sadly, this is really fucking me.
No, it's not sadly at all. It's because there are 8 billion authentic beings, each of whom has something unique and valuable to share with the country and the world, right? The BBC invited me to teach public speaking and communication to the world as the BBC maestro for public speaking and communication. And that's the bottom line message. Your authenticity and your passion about something is all you need to be a great public speaker. Authentic passion, and you have that, and you've got unique insights, and you're just completely real, and you don't give a shit. And when we're our age,
I don't.
And when we're our age, and I'm actually even older than you, that's our time to contribute and say we don't fucking care. We've been through a lot. We've learned a lot. Let us share with you what we know. And again, if you want to follow me, it's at CivicsDean, at CIVICS Dean. So let me just finish the thing. So we need 4 more members of the House to be able to restore women's reproductive rights and pass, the background checks and all the climate action, the things that we've been waiting for a long time. Because we need a trifecta. So we need to take back the House. We need 4 more House members. So your congressman or your congressional challenger in your district could be the one, if you don't get out and vote, who would make the difference, right? Could be that 4th one. And then we need one more United States Democratic senator. The Senate is tricky. You want to talk about the Senate for a second?
Yeah, we can talk about the Senate. I just want to say something about what you said earlier. What was it? Scaring is caring. And that's something that people will say, and the media, when it's all said and done, and it turns out I'm right and they're all fucking wrong, they're going to say, well, we just didn't want to make people feel at ease so they wouldn't go out and vote. Now, for me, doing what I do, people will say, you shouldn't be so confident. You shouldn't tell them this because then they won't go vote. Here's the thing with the audience I have on TikTok and the podcast and stuff. I feel like it would be insulting if I'm trying to manipulate them to do something I want to do. They should want to do it themselves. And after talking about the things we've talked about, they are motivated to do it. I'm not going to insult them to the point where saying, if I don't trick you, you're not going to go vote. Everybody who listens to what I do here and on the podcast, they're all well informed and they're ready to vote. I understand why people are doing it. It just frustrates me that happens because I think it's insulting to intelligent people. Now, I could say my audience is mostly intelligent people because I block all Trumplafucks, so I don't have to deal with their bullshit. If I was talking to Trumplafucks, it would be a different story.
Well, we have one on right now. And again, I'm going to be more respectful. I think that Fox News and the Republican message machine is so incredibly gifted and skilled. And Donald Trump is the greatest demagogic, gaslighting communicator I have ever seen in my professional life. So, for example, we have... I'm sorry?
I said no question. I agree with you.
Right. So we have someone, Optimus Prime 060715. A vote for Kamala is a vote for drag queens to read story time to your children in schools. Okay. So there are people here who I don't think fully share our philosophy. Can I address that viewer?
Sure.
So I'm going to say something that I think people are going to like because I believe in being authentic and honest. Just being authentic and honest. I am not comfortable personally with a number of the things that the Democratic Party does or does not do. I think the Democratic Party has been very weak on not just messaging, but actions with respect to illegal immigration, right? It's a problem that I think we've had for a long time. The Republicans did tank the bill that would have fixed a lot of that, but Democrats have been late to that party. That's my belief. So I don't think we're great or that we have been great on illegal immigration. We can have a long conversation about that. I do not believe, I'm with Bill Maher. I'm an anti-woke Democrat, right? I do not
Yeah.
agree with a lot of the people in my party about the whole trans thing. I'm an athlete. I play tennis. I don't believe in trans sports, right? I do believe actually that parents should be given, should have the right to not have their kids have sex education, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade. So that's the whole Ron DeSantis thing, right? And, so there are things that I'm not down with. And I also don't agree with the left wing of the Democratic Party on Israel and Gaza. Okay. So, but that's fine. I don't agree with everything my brother says. I don't agree with everything my girlfriend says. Right. But the point is that the vast majority of the Democratic Party is not supporting this woke agenda, does not want to jam drag queens or gender change operations down your throat. They don't. We appreciate free speech, but our things that we focus on are the things that America wants. We want women to have their reproductive rights back. We want a national right to IVF. We want background checks for guns. We want to fight climate change. We want renewable energy. We want to penalize corporations that are price gouging. We want to reduce the price of insulin to $35 for everyone, not just people on Medicare, and on and on and on. So, and we want democracy. And as I was saying before, Donald Trump does have the ability, any president does have the ability on day one to actually affect our constitutional checks and balances. And that is what I believe we should also be talking about. And we can fix it by not letting Donald Trump or Republicans control this country.
Well, here's the problem that I think a lot of people get into. I don't claim to be a Democrat. I don't claim to be a Republican. I always thought that it's not Democrats against Republicans, it's all of them against us. Because let's be honest, the Democrats could have codified Roe v. Wade. They decided not to do that. They got lazy.
No, Michael. I have to disagree. This is a common misperception.
They didn't have the opportunity to do it.
Here, let me explain. Okay, again, I'm the civics dean, right? And I had Jamie Harrison, the head of the DNC, tell me a couple of months ago that teaching civics is the most powerful thing that we could do to get people to understand how important their voice is and to vote. The reason that we did not codify Roe v. Wade was up until 2022, when the Supreme Court, sent this lightning jolt into our country. There were people like Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema and even other Democrats who really wanted to keep this Senate filibuster rules as they were. Because the theory was, if we blow up the filibuster so that we only need 51 votes to pass the bill to codify Roe v. Wade, if we're not in power in 2 or 4 or 6 years, the Republicans are going to be able to do all sorts of horrible things, and we will not be able to stop them. Does that make sense? So we only for 7 months during the beginning of Barack Obama's term did we have 60 Democratic senators, but we didn't have 60 who were supportive of codifying Roe v. Wade, because at that point there were some more conservative Democratic senators. They no longer exist.
Okay, so now Richard, I'm gonna need you to tighten up your comments a little bit, because the people are coming to my live and they're kind of yelling about let Boomer talk, and I talk a lot, so I don't need this for my ego. The point of what I was saying is that too many people look at all the problems you laid out. We got this, we got that, we got this. It's an insurmountable amount of problems we have in this country. And what we really need to do is focus on one at a time. The first one being winning the election. And if we win the election, then we can focus on all the other problems. So many people want to make it complex by worrying about everything. We've got too many problems to worry about. Let's get it step by step. Let's win this election, which I think we will. The Democrats have some shortcomings too, but they're far better than the Republicans. We need to somehow eradicate them as much as we can from Congress, because they're nothing but obstructionists. That's all they do. So we can't get anything done. There's a lot of things we have to do, but the first and foremost thing is win this election. And I get the impression that you're feeling like that you're not sure that it's going to what's going to happen. Is she going to win? You still seem to have some question in your mind whether she's going to win, when all the facts really suggest she's going to win.
Well, listen, you and I have been watching the polls for a long time, and the people I trust the most, I have friends and experts who say she's going to win in a landslide. I have friends and experts who say Donald Trump's going to win. And I have most of the people that I know and trust and I look to say, it's too close to call, right? We're in the bottom, we're going into the ninth inning, and it can go either way. But the point that I was making, and I'm sorry if I talk for a long time, because our media doesn't cover what I just shared about the filibuster, for example, and about how we actually get things done in this country. And I sure wish they did. We don't teach civics anymore. But the thing is, it is very unlikely, according to the current estimates, that Democrats are going to hold the majority in the United States Senate. And that is critical for us to accomplish the restoration of Roe v. Wade and reproductive rights and all the other things that we talked about. So I really want people, yes, obviously, vote for Kamala. That's the most important thing. But if you are in a state, and there are like 10 states that are swing states for the Senate, especially if you're in Texas, you got to make sure everyone in Texas votes for Colin Allred, because he would be that one extra vote we need, for example.
You referenced the polls, and I've said all along, the polls have been wrong in 2016, 2018, 2020, 2022. They are wrong, and they are almost fabricated in order to whip up this concern and such. If you really want to look at how the support is, I've said this before, the true essence of support would be fundraising. People going into their pocket, taking their hard-earned money and giving it to a candidate. And look at the fundraising, that 80-day period where Kamala raised $1 billion. Donald Trump raised about $400 million. All of his were large donors. Most of Kamala's were small donors. That creates quite a disparity in votes if you look at that as opposed to the polls. Now, I'm not saying that's the decider as to who wins the election, but how in the world, with an opponent that has no ground game, and she has probably the best ground game in history, and that disparity in fundraising, how is it possible that it's close? I mean, Nick Silver, who used to own 538 and then sold himself out to the Republicans, he's saying the idea that all of these polls are so similar is astronomically impossible. It shouldn't be that way. So there's obviously some gaming going on with the polls. And this is what the media is going to say afterwards. They're going to say, well, we just followed the polls. Why do you follow polls that are notoriously wrong? It's like going to the worst possible source and saying that's what's going to happen, when you have these actual data points that suggest something else.
So your fans are so loyal to you, they want me to shut the fuck up. So I'm just going to shut up and listen to you.
Well, no, you don't have to shut the. Here's the one thing I always tell my people when I do the podcast. A lot of people say you should do this, you should do that. And I always say it's my fucking show. I'm going to do what the fuck I want. And yeah, this is one of the problems with doing this. I talk to these people alone all the time on my podcast. You should come on the podcast at some point, and we can. It's a little different scenario, a little different climate, but it doesn't do us any good if you shut the fuck up. If I wanted you to shut the fuck up, I'd tell you to shut the fuck up. But so don't worry about that. We do it.
Well, let's address something that one of the people said. I was reading the comments that I'm being condescending. So I would love your advice or your audience's advice on how to share information that I believe is critical for us to have a viable democracy. And I really, really, really want people to understand how close we are to getting everything that we liberals, progressive Democrats want, and how close we are to having a national abortion ban and having really, really bad things happen. So what's the best way for me to share my 40 years of knowledge on civics? Because I don't want to be condescending.
Well, here's the thing. I'm just an old guy sitting in my living room, so I don't have all the answers. I think the difference in what I do and what you do is you're a teacher by nature.
That is correct.
You give lectures, and the way I do it is not quite a lecture. And the thing is, the people that come to my page, one of the things they say that they appreciate the most is I make them feel better. I talk them off the ledge. I make them feel saner with all the shit going on in the media. And by saying what you're saying, the way you're saying it, it sounds like a lot of what is going on in the media. What if this could happen to this? What I try to do is break it down and analyze it and look at how we can fix this situation. I have no qualms in my mind that think that Kamala's going to lose tomorrow. I hope that she wins big because I think that will be very, very healing for the country, that we give some kind of mandate against Donald Trump and MAGA. I guess I'm a little less sophisticated than you. Maybe that's what people appreciated.
No, the truth is, and what shocked me, Mike, was I looked at you and I was going to scroll in the beginning, and it's like, who is this Republican redneck, old white guy?
I get that a lot. I get that a lot.
No, and it's like, but again, I'm a lifelong learner. I love, hearing different perspectives. So I gave you a shot, and it's like, I need to follow this guy. He's got a really unique perspective. And you're not being a teacher for 40 years is an advantage to you, right? Because you just say whatever you feel. And so I just feel that my mission is to share the shit that is critical that most people don't know, right? So I
get it.
I went to Paul Revere Junior High School in Los Angeles. And you remember Paul Revere, the British are coming, the British are coming, right? So maybe that's in my DNA. I'm just trying to warn you. So can I share a few stats, and then I will shut up. And I appreciate some people are supporting me as well. Women do not have their reproductive rights because of 537 votes in one swing state 24 years ago.
Okay.
And so what keeps me up at night is that for whatever reason, there's a snowstorm someplace, or certain people get sick, or something happens, and it's so close that every single vote, like one vote in each precinct in Pennsylvania, will make the difference. And so I feel like, you see the Olympics or whatever, and people slow down before they hit the finish line. I think we have to blast through that finish line and get everybody out of either fear or just massive desire for a new direction in this country to get out and make sure that they vote and everyone they know votes, because we will have between 80 and 100 million American citizens who will not be voting.
I just have to say something here. We're going to need to wrap this up. Remember when I said this is my show and I do whatever the fuck I want? There is one caveat to that. When my wife says, we got to fucking go, then she's in control of production. So I do have to wrap it up, but we can do this again. And Richard, reach out to me on email. We'll put you on a podcast. It's a much different situation where it's just you and I talking and going back and forth, and that would be a good format for us to have this conversation.
Well, I love this last comment. Is what a great discussion. We need a lot more of these. Nothing like having adults at the table. Yeah, come on. Let's just put our brains together and our passions for this country, and let's make it a better place to live for ourselves, our kids, and
And I'll be honest with you, Richard. There's many people that hate me out there that love me. So I take it all with a
I
grain
don't
of
think
salt.
so. I think they're just
I
louder.
I know so. Maybe,
Listen,
maybe.
such an honor.
Well, Richard, it was an honor for me to have you here, and thank you very much. We can do this again, or like I said, better yet, go on the podcast, and that would be a much calmer situation. To all the people watching, by the way, thanks very much for doing that. This was impromptu, wasn't expected to do it, but you showed up in a big way, and we appreciate it.
And just last thing, if anybody is interested in sharing this civics-based content, I have a lot of it on my own at Civicstein TikTok page. My 95-year-old mother goes viral almost every time I put her on my page, right? She's even a different generation. And I'm going to be doing a lot of very concrete content in the next 24, 30 hours. So thank you again, Mike. I can't thank you enough for sharing yourself and your audience. And again, you inspire me every time I watch your posts.
I appreciate it. I love your post too, and I do follow Richard. So if you don't, you should check it out. It's a lot of good information that we need in this day and age. So again, thank you, Richard. Thanks to everybody who joined us today. I'm going to be bopping in and out a lot with the podcast and the TikToks and the live. So you won't have any shortage of me, unfortunately. We'll
Thanks so
we'll
much.
talk to you again soon.
Take care. Bye.